Jacqueline with CraftyJackStamping.com. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, and I'm here today to try an experiment, a project covering this plate with a Stampin Up Designer Series paper. So I found this at a garage sale, and I think it's really cool, but I wanted to update it with my own Designer Series paper. So in looking at it, I thought I would try the Tea Room Specialty Designer Series paper, and it is gorgeous. Look at this paper. Now the trick is deciding which one to use. Butterflies, I love butterflies. And I love purple. Bees, I love bees too. This I don't feel like would go as good around it because it has an up and a down. Ooh, that's pretty too. And that's very pretty too. So deciding between these two is what I want. And I think I'm going to go with the purple. The purple. So we're going to Modge Podge this onto this plate. Let's see how this goes. So first, I found this in my cabinet, an antique mat, Modge Podge, and I thought that'll work perfect for this because I'm gonna brown the edges anyways. So let's get started. I know from Modge Podging, you have to cover the surface completely, and then you have to cover the sheet of paper completely. So let's start with the surface. I want to make a liberal coating. Now, I did not cut out my paper because it was going to be hard to judge exactly how big it should be around, and I didn't want to cut it too small. So I figured I'm going to cut it afterwards, which might make it a little bit tricky, but that's okay. We're used to tricks. Now, I'm not going to cover all the way to the corners because I know I'm not going to go all the way to the corners. back today. The Modge Podge has dried and I am going to sand the edges. This is just to get the rough edges of it, of the paper, so that it's not so obvious that it was just recently glued. Okay, now that my plate has dried and I am ready to ink the edges so that it looks a little older, antique-ish. And I'm using the Stampin Up sponges. And I'm going to cut it into 4s. And I'm using a bigger scissors to try to cut it as far across evenly as possible. Then I have 2 dye inks from Memento, Desert Sand and Toffee Crunch. We're going to start with Desert Sand because it's lighter. I tested them earlier. And we are going to get the sponge inked up a little here. There we go. So I'm starting with the lighter one, and I have a piece of scrap paper here where I'm going to just burnish the edges, not burnish, but ink the edges, and then kind of some of the wrinkles in the plate. If you recall, I just sanded this edge. And I'm using dye ink so that it soaks in as much as possible. Might not be dark enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and move to the darker ink, Toffee Crunch. I'm quite pleased with it, and I love the paper. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like this video if you liked it. And again, I'm Jacqueline with CraftyJackStamping.com.